Okay, let's go ahead and get started. There'll probably be some more people joining us, and we'll see how that all goes as we go along. But what we're going to do today, I'm going to be covering, a topic that we call Darkroom Advanced. So essentially, Darkroom Advanced, it could encompass a whole lot of things. So today, what I'm going to do is try to cover four things: alternate print, QR code to start, the take and retake, and then use of filters with Darkroom Booth. So we'll see if we can get through all those, and I'm going to pause for a couple of minutes after each one and give everybody an opportunity to answer or ask questions or anything. So let's start off with alternate print. What alternate print is that it's a way that Darkroom Booth can allow your user to choose from different templates. Now, if you're using a printer that Darkroom has a direct driver for, like the 620, the DS40, so on, then you can choose templates of different sizes, and Darkroom can switch the cutting and everything of that back and forth. For example, let's say you're doing a 2x6 and a 4x6. Then you can let somebody choose a 2x6 or a 4x6 template, and if you're using a 620 with a built-in driver, Darkroom can automatically switch that cut between those two printers. If you're using a printer that you have to use a Windows driver, like a High-T 510L or something like that, then you can only use the same size templates, because Darkroom can't control the cut on those printers. But built-in drivers like the 620, the DS40, Darkroom can control that cut. And so you can use those and switch between different sizes. So it's really, honestly, pretty simple. If I'm basing everything on the current latest version. These features I'm going to be talking about with print alternate, match output, and so on are all things that have been in the software for about the last year. So if you have a version older than, say, 820, 3.0.820, then you may need to update to get the latest version to have these features. But if you look over here, starting out in the output tab, okay, I'm going to talk about the output tab to start with. And you'll see the very second option here is called print alternate. And I've got a checkbox beside it. So if I check print alternate, then we have this little box that comes up. And over here is our main print size. You can also, if you check auto, then it'll let it switch between. The first one we'll talk about in just a second, but the next two prompts here is prompt user to choose at the start of the session, or prompt user to choose at the end of the session. Now, there's two different distinctions between choosing at the beginning and choosing at the end. So let's take a scenario. First of all, if you choose at the beginning of the session, what happens is the user touches the screen to start the session. It would pop up a prompt and show them the various options that they have as far as template goes, using the stock standard sample photos that come with the software. Now, you can also change those stock sample photos to your own photos if you want to, but it'll show them the template with the photos. There's a knowledge base article. It's really simple to change those photos if you want to. You can take a look at that when you have time. But that's what it would do. Is if you do it at the beginning, it shows the photos with the stock sample photos. If you choose to prompt at the end of the session, it shows the templates with their actual photos taken during the session, which I think is really the nicest way to do that, because then they see the finished template. They can choose it with their own photos in there, and they get that option to see. Now, if you choose up here in the corner, if you look right here where it says match output, this is where you would normally, I can't do it with that selected. This is where you'd normally set the number of photos, but in the latest version, if you choose match output, then you can choose a template or let them pick from a template that has a different number of photos. So say it's this one that you see on the screen right now has 3 photos, but let's say one of our alternates is a 4-photo template. If you have this set to match output, then Darkroom will take the correct number of photos to match the template. So that way it'll take 2 or 4 or whatever necessary. So print alternate Now, to do that, you have to do it before the session, because obviously it wouldn't know which one they selected um, after the session. After the session, if they wait till after the session, it's not going to know to take 4 photos because they chose a 4. So let's go back to print alternate. You can also put prompt text here if you want it to say, pick from these templates or something. And then down here, you can put in the actual templates. So all you would do is just, normally when you get started, this would be blank. I've got 3 templates listed here, but you would just click edit. It's going to pop up showing all the templates that you currently have in the application, and you choose the template you want to offer, click OK. Then you choose the next one, and then every time you do that, you just click add template and add another template. Now, using the print alternate settings, you can choose up to 50. That's an insane number of templates to let someone select from, and if you do that, your customer is going to be standing there forever, picking templates. So I would just offer 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5, something like that, but don't get crazy. If you offer a template that has a green screen background, if you're doing chroma key with green screen, then you can offer different green screen backgrounds and they can choose the one they want. If you let them select at the end, as I mentioned, they will see their photos on the various backgrounds so that they can choose from the ones that you've offered. So we're going to start off with, just for time's sake, I'm going to leave it on the start of the session, and I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to turn this on and run a session so you can kind of get a feel for what this looks like. So if I press start session, it tells me there's no printers detected because I don't have a printer connected. And then here we go. Now, I'll talk more about this in just a minute, but when you press touch the screen, or whatever method you have to start the software, in this case, I'm going to press that, then it pops up this little scrolling thing, and it shows you 2 templates at a time. They can touch here to scroll over to other templates. And this is what I was talking about, the sample images that come with the software. That's Bill, if anybody's wondering, and I think his cousin. So you can see those are the sample photos. You can change these to your own, or if you do it at the end of the session, it will show the actual photos that they had taken. So you can see they can just use the arrows to scroll back and forth and choose from different templates. And if you have it set to match output, they can choose either, a different number of photos as well. All right, so that's how that would work. So let's just take, for example, if I choose this one, then it's going to start the session. It's going to take the appropriate number of photos, go through it all from there, and I'll just run through that for a second so you can see. And that's photo 2, and then here's photo 3. This is my simulated web camera live view, so those are just static images. And then once it's done, you can let them see the photo if you wanted to, and they can accept it or go back and do it over. So there you see it chose the correct template that I selected to do that. Now, here's a little twist. If you say you just want to offer 2 or 3 maybe, and you don't want to use the scrolling interface, you can also uncheck this box right here where it says print alternate. You go ahead and set up your alternate prints here that you're going to offer, and then you uncheck that box right there. Then you go to your screen template, and in the screen template, you'll see here that I have 2 templates added to the screen as a graphic. So I'm going to back out and show you how I did that. Okay. So what I did is I went into the choose menu and I found my template. That's screen templates. I want to go to output templates. So I go into the choose menu and I find my template. So there is the 4 template right there. I right click on it and I choose save sample. And when I do that, it gives me the opportunity to save it and give it a name. So I did that and I gave it a file name, and that created a JPEG of my template with sample photos in it so I can use it as a graphic. And then you find your other template and do the same thing. Then once you do that, let's go back to the screen template designer. So once I do that, then I clicked on add artwork and then went and found that graphic. In this case, it's on my desktop, those two graphics. So I'm going to scroll down here. There's one, there's the other. So I choose the first one. And when I do that, it adds it to the screen. Now I'm going to click over here and show you how to set it up. So once I've added it to the screen and sized it appropriately and everything, I came down here to the bottom portion of the object properties. The first object here says when shown. Now this is going to be a button. This is the purpose of this. It's a button that the user can touch to choose that template. So what I want to have happen is I want them to see the button at the beginning, touch the button to choose it, and when they choose it, I want it to go away. So what I did is I clicked edit and I checked attract mode, which is when the session is just sitting there, and then during startup. Then I unchecked everything else. So what that does is as soon as they touch it, it starts the session and it goes away. You don't see it anymore. So you would just check the first two if you want it to go away once the session starts. Then under booth command, this is where I tell Darkroom Booth what I want to have happen once they touch that button. So here, I wanted to choose alternate print. I set the number as number 1. It's the first one I added in the alternate print section, so it's the first template. And then I wanted to start the session after they apply it. So basically 3 settings. I'm telling Darkroom Booth when they touch this item, I wanted to choose alternate print. I wanted to select number 1 in my list, and I wanted to start the session, okay? Now then, over here, I did the same thing, only in this case, under choose alternate print, I said number 2, all right? And then start session. Now what that's doing, let me back out of this so that you can see. When you go back over here to the output section, under print alternate, that first 2x6 template is added as template number 1. And the second one is number 2. Now I could keep going with 3, 4. Eventually you'd get so many on the screen it would be kind of messy. So I would, just use this for like 3 or 4 prints or something. But that's just telling it to choose template number 1 or template number 2. So now then, the last key element is to uncheck print alternate. Otherwise it'll pop up the scrolling thing like I showed you a while ago. So let's start a booth session now. And it's going to tell me I don't have a printer, etc. But now you see my screen design here, and you see these 2 templates that I have to select from. So if I click here, it's going to start the session. It's going to go through the session, take the 3 photos, and then display that template. And then, of course, if I touch the other one, it would do the same way. So that gets people an opportunity to look at the screen, choose the template that they want to use, and then move on with the session like that. If you were doing a green screen, so here's my template coming up. There it is, finished template, so they can see it. If you were doing it with green screen backgrounds, they could see different backgrounds to choose from, however you wanted to do that. So that gives you the opportunity to let them to choose the different backgrounds. Okay, now that is print alternate. It's really that easy, that simple, nothing really complicated about it. I will be happy to answer questions if anybody has a question or two. If you want to use the question button at the bottom and type in your question, you can do that. If you want to raise your hand and say your question out loud, we can recognize you and let you do that. So let's take about 5 minutes and go for any questions. Anybody got questions about alternate print or print alternate? Tick tock, tick tock. Anybody got a question? Anybody? Breaking up. Is anybody else having a problem? Mia says I'm breaking up. That may be your internet connection if it's only happening to you. Anybody? No questions on print alternate. Okay, well, let's move on then, and I'll go on to the next topic, which is QR code to start. Now, this is a feature that we added to the software sometime last summer, to be honest, in response to a lot of the touchless requests that we were getting from people because of COVID. So we added this feature called QR code to start. And there's a couple of different ways of doing it depending on your equipment. I'll be honest with you, it works best with a newer camera like the M50, Canon M50, that has autofocus, continuous autofocus. An older camera like, say, for instance, a T5i, it does not have continuous autofocus. The way those cameras work is as soon as the picture is taken, it focuses real quickly and the photo is taken. Where an M50 continuously focuses. So every time something moves in front of it, it is constantly refocusing on it. So the QR code needs to go relatively close to the camera for it to read it, and then it needs to suddenly focus further back. So you can't use manual focus with a digital SLR, and you works best with a digital SLR that is also doing continuous autofocus. If you don't have a camera like that, you can use it with a webcam. It works best, again, with just using the webcam. If you want to use the digital SLR to take the photos, but you want to use the webcam to read the photos, then you can do better with that. William says green screen works about the same. Are you asking a question about the previous print alternate? William, is that what you were asking a question about? If so, yes, you can use green screen with the print alternate. You just use a green screen template. Okay, back to QR code. So here's how you set up QR code. First of all, you set up your session just with all the options you plan to offer. If you look on this particular one here, I'm offering a single photo 4x6. I have also checked photo email and photo to phone. So we're going to offer text messaging and photo email, and then the printing of 4x6. Now, if you click here and you go to the control section right there, in the control section, you'll see a checkbox right here that says allow touchless start if QR code is detected. Now, when this is checked, the booth will still work with normal. Okay, I'm just now having a lot of questions coming in on the print alternate. Let me go on with QR code and I'll go back and answer all the questions at the end. So if you have this checked, it will still work as normal. You can still touch the screen and it'll still work. But if it does sense a QR code, then it works through the QR code system. So here's how you set it up. If you click right here, you just check enable QR code detection. Now, I'm using the M50, Canon M50. I believe by far that is the best way to do the QR code detection. Or the second best would be a webcam only. If you're trying to use a webcam and the digital SLR to take the photos, it still works, but you have to be a little more cautious about how they hold the QR code up to the camera and everything. So if we just check enable QR code detection, then when we do a session and you hold the QR code, I'm going to start a session, and I've got a little sample QR code here. All right. Oh, you know what? Hold on just a second. I got to switch over to the camera, change the camera to the M50. Hold on one second. Hang on one second. Well, it's not picking up my M50. Hold on just a second. William's got his hand up. William, what's going on? What do you need? having to juggle multiple inputs and cameras and everything in various forms makes it somewhat difficult to, hang on just a minute, I'm trying to get it to, well, I may need to restart. Hang on just a second. What happened is the Canon M50 was picked up by the screen sharing application, and it's not showing in the software. So when you have multiple things running, okay, now it's picked up the M50. All right, now let me get over here to the live view so you can see. Here's my M50 is running in Darkroom. All right, so I'm going to run a session. Hope everybody can still see. Okay, so here's my session, and what I need to do is hold the QR code up like that. You'll see it focuses and it starts the session. I'm going to stop it again just so we can just do that over. It happens pretty quick. So here we go. Here's my M50 working right there. You'll see I just hold up my QR code and it starts the session. Okay, now how do you get the QR code? Well, here's how that works. Let's go back to the control section. And if you click on the QR code setup, you can choose print sign, okay? So here is the system to do that. What we've done is we've created a website called boothstart.com. And we used a sort of a generic name so that you can just send your customers to boothstart.com. And it tailors what is offered on boothstart.com to whatever you're offering in your session. So in other words, this is what boothstart.com, if you look right here, boothstart.com. So if you do this on a phone, it looks a little neater, but that's where most people would be doing it, would be on a phone. So with boothstart.com, what happens is, it's in this case, I'm offering phone or email, so they can just click on email. They can type in their email address and click done, and it will create that custom QR code with their email address in it to send the image to them. The same thing with phone. So what we recommend you do, set up your session, send them to the, you create this QR code right here, okay? And this QR code is going to be created, and you can print it from here if you want to. You create this QR code, and it's a custom QR code with their phone number or their email address, etc., embedded in that. They can save it on their phone. If they go to boothstart.com on their phone, I would just do a screen save. Then they can use that same QR code all night long. And then once you do that, they just hold this QR code on their phone up to the screen. Now, the nice thing is that this is customized based on your session. So if you decide to only offer email, it's only going to show this right here with email as an option. It won't show the photo to phone option. And so they just scan the QR code. They see the options you're offering. They choose what they want to do. And then it creates their custom QR code. And this is what it would look like on their phone. And then when you click done, so let's do this. Sales at Darkroom Software.com. So they put in their email address. Did I spell that right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I selected phone instead of sales at darkroomsoftware.com. And you click done, and then it generates this custom QR code that they would have on their phone or the other device. Then they just hold that up to the screen. Once they hold it up to the screen, then the software is going to pick that up and start the session and go from there and send it to them. It works really well. It works really fast. Usually they would get it, they just hold the QR code up, it starts the session, sends it to them, and then they get it within just seconds if you have live internet. Now, if you have more than one person in the booth that wants to do that, they can hold up both QR codes at the same time, and it would send it to both of them, as long as it's the same service. In other words, they couldn't have one with a phone number and one with an email address. They would need both email addresses or something like that to do two at one time. But that way you can get those sent out to you and use the QR code to start. And William's got his hand up. What's up, William? I see a question. Green screen works about the same. Is that the question you were asking about print alternate, William? I don't see where I can recognize William and get him. Oh, the sharing software. Did I lose everybody? The meeting software we're using is crashed. Can anybody hear me? Anybody hear me? Okay, I'm going to restart and see if everybody can reconnect because the sharing software has crashed. Okay, did everybody come back? Did I lose everybody? Everybody there? I think I lost everybody. The software that does the screen sharing crashed. Is everybody there? Stella, can you hear me? I think you got your microphone muted, but you raised your hand. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Seems like I got everybody back. The application we're using for the screen share webinar crashed in the middle of all this. So is everybody there? Can everybody still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Max, you've got your hand up. Is everybody back?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Looks like we got everybody back. Where did I lose everybody? Did you hear any part of the QR code part before it crashed, or?
Yes, we heard you.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on then. Anybody get any questions about the QR code to start? Any questions there? Anybody got any questions about QR code to start? Is everybody still seeing my screen?
No, we can't see your screen, Wally.
Okay, hang on one second. Let me see why that is. Okay, now can you see the screen?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, Yeah, it just crashed right in the middle of it. Okay, everybody. Hopefully that'll stay with us and we can go there. All right, everybody back? Everybody good on the QR code to start? Again, it works best with an M50. If you have access to an M50, that's the best way. Second best way is just use a webcam for photos and everything. And then you can also do it with the QR code detected by a webcam and then the photos taken by a digital SLR. Sometimes that can be problematic because there's two different cameras involved. But again, I'll show you one more time how that worked. So in the session, we have the camera. You can see that's me in front of the camera. I have a QR code here just printed out on a piece of paper. And so I just hold it up to the camera. It detects and starts. You may want to give people a little extra time in your timing settings so that they have time to start the session and then back up and get their pose. But that's an option you can just play around with until you figure out exactly what works best for you. All right, now I'm going to move on to the next topic on my list. I've got 4 topics I'm trying to get in. The next one is take and retake. This is probably a feature that is handy for a lot of things, but very few people actually use it, maybe because they don't understand it. But what this does, in your screen template, you can add 1 or 2 buttons. I'm going to go to that screen template. You'll see here I've got a button that says take next photo, retake last photo. Now you could call this I love it, I hate it. You can name those buttons whatever you want it to be. Love it, obviously, it shows you the photo, you like it, you hit OK. I hate it, you don't like it, you want to go back and do it over. So let's see how you set that up. So first of all, let's take a look at this button. Now, if you look here, this says under booth command, it says take photo. All right. Take photo. And that's the command that we've given it, take photo. So what take photo does essentially is it lets you see the photo. Once you see the photo and you decide, yes, I like that one, you hit the take photo button or take next photo or yes, I love it or whatever, and it will continue on with the session and do the next photo. On the other hand, the other button, retake last, here, you'll see that I've just set the booth command to retake photo. Then what that does is it just says, I don't like that photo. I want to go back and do it again. Now, we've had some photographers or some people with photo booths use just the take photo, and they'll set a pretty long time, and then that skips the rest of that remainder time. So let's say you set it for 1 minute. That's a long time in between photos, but that gives people a chance to change outfits, do different props. We had one person that they were letting them change, different costumes and things. And so they take their first photo, they run and change, they come back, and then they're ready for the second photo. So they hit that button and that skips and goes on and starts the countdown for the next photo. So you can use take and retake. I've seen more people call them something like I love it, I hate it, or a thumbs up or a thumbs down, something like that lets them know I like this photo or I don't like this photo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out and run a session so you can see what that looks like. So here's our screen, just to start. And if I click there and start the session, it says, look at the camera. There's me and my messy desk. Don't pay attention to that. Take my photo. Okay, there's my photo. It goes in number 1, and then it comes up to this. I like it. I think I'm going to go on and take the next photo. So then it starts my countdown, and it goes on and takes photo 2. Well, I don't really like that one, so I want to retake the last, and it says retaking photo 2. And so let's take over photo 2, and I'll do something clear so you can tell that I'm actually retaking the photo. Okay. And there you can see it retook the photo. So it's really simple. Take photo, move on to the next photo or retake the last photo, and you can let them do that. Now, there are a couple of limits. One is it will only allow them to retake the last photo 3 times. In other words, they can't just go on an endless loop of, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, I don't like that one. They get 3 chances to take one that they like, and then it will move on to the next photo. So they only get 3 opportunities. So you can see take photo and retake. You might call it, like I said, I love it, I hate it, or thumbs up, thumbs down, something to indicate to the customer that they like that photo or they don't like that photo. All right. Anybody got any questions about that particular topic, the take and retake? It's pretty simple to set up. Just set a button with a command. Does this work on the last photo? Yes, you can do that. You need to allow last photo time so that they can make that decision. Does this cancel out the automatic countdown? It follows the timing structure. If you look here in the timing structure, I have allowed just a little extra time between photos to give people a chance to look at it and go, yeah, I like that. No, I don't. But otherwise, yes, it does. It follows this timing structure here. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions about that? Okay. Next and last topic today we're going to talk about is filters. We get a lot of questions about, does Darkroom Booth offer a beautify filter? And the answer is yes. Let me find my setup here. Filters, there we go. Okay, here's how filters work with Darkroom Booth. When you create, and I'm going to go over here to the screen section. So in the screen template, we open that. So you can see here in the screen template, I've got 3 buttons to start the session over here. One is called Beautify. One is called Soft Color. The other was called Color Photo. This would just be a normal. Now, I'm offering essentially to the customer 2 filters and 1 normal. You can change the text on this to whatever you want it to be. It could be, just whatever you want to offer. But Darkroom offers several different types of filters. So let's take a look at Beautify first. Here's how you would set that. Once again, I have the object visibility, or when shown, set to only before the session, so the button disappears after the session starts. Excuse me. Then in our booth command, you'll see that the filter, or the setting is apply filter. So here's all the various commands you can choose. The very first one are up at the top, not the very first one, but this one right here under color, grayscale, etc., is apply filter. All right, then I'm going to choose, and these are the ones that come with Darkroom Booth. The beauty filter heavy is what I have applied to this one, and it's the softest. There's a light, there's a color, black and white beauty filter, and there's also pastel and super color. The difference between all of those is various settings in Darkroom. They're actually text files, and you can edit and create your own. So let me show you how you would do that. So let's go to the X drive. While Darkroom is running, you can find the X drive only when Darkroom is running. And under the X drive, you'll find a folder. Be very careful in the X drive to not delete anything important. But in the folder of filters, you'll see these are various filter text files. So if I double click on this one, you'll see the various settings that make up this filter. So it sets it first of all to grayscale. It ups the contrast a little bit. It softens the focus to -5. It sets the exposure and brightness a little bit brighter to, give it a little brighter effect. Now, on our knowledge base, there's an article under filters that tells you all of this information if you want to create or edit your own. But if you want to just stay with the basic ones that are in Darkroom, you just click here and choose whichever one you wanted to. And then you can check the box to start the session as well. All right. So here I've done the same thing, but the filter I chose is the pastel color. It's a lower saturation, softer color. I'll show you an example in just a minute. And then here I've got just a regular photo, no filter applied, and start. Okay, so I've got 3 filter possibilities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this, and let me delete those so you only see what I'm starting with. Those are samples I was messing around with yesterday. Okay, so now Let me switch so you can really kind of see the difference. I'm going to switch from the webcam or the M50 over to, let's see, can I switch that? Turn off my M50. And I want to choose a different camera so that you can see my simulated. Manicam. Okay, so now I've got my simulated live view. Because let's be honest, folks, there is no beauty filter that's going to make me beautiful. Okay, so let's go in here to do a session now. So here's what my screen template looks like. You see my simulated live view. And if I click, let's start with soft color just for grins. Now you can see it's still color, but it's just very soft, very pale, soft color. So that's the filter for soft color. We're going to let that take one photo, and then it's going to cycle, or 3 photos, whatever the session was set to. There was one question while that's running through. Does the filter text file adjust the camera or the captured image? It's an adjustment in the captured image, not the camera itself. So you would still set whatever normal settings you would have for your camera. You can see this photo. Now you can adjust that effect if you want to give it more softness or less softness. You can, group them together, various things like that. So I'm going to click on Beautify here, and you see it goes to a black and white, because I'm using the black and white Beautify text file. So what I would recommend is you start off with the standard ones that come with Darkroom. Try it, see how you like that, and then you can create others by editing those text files and get different effects. There is a knowledge base. If you search for filters in our knowledge base, that'll tell you the various settings to use to achieve these effects. And now you'll see this one pops up, and it's much softer than the standard image. So you can see this is a softer image. All right. Does anybody have any questions about filters? It's pretty simple, pretty easy to do. You just set a button to do it. You can do all those different filters. And it doesn't change the camera settings. It only changes the final outcome. So here's our photo. Now here's a little tip. If you go here with your standard photo straight from the camera in the Photos tab, okay, if you double click on it, it opens in our editor, and over here you'll see brightness, contrast, exposure, various settings here, and color, and you can play around with these settings, and that's where those come from. This is what it's doing. It's applying these settings. So you can adjust the brightness, you could adjust the color to get more color, less color, whatever effect you wanted to get. And using that, you can get the idea of what you'd like to set in the software, in those text files. Could the filter be combined with the retake? Yes, you could do that. Yeah, you could do that. Any other questions? Any other questions about that? Okay, I've covered all 4 topics that I planned to cover. I've got about 15 minutes remaining in this particular webinar. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those about the 4 topics we've talked about today. We can't really get into individual troubleshooting. So the whole, hey, I'm having this problem with my booth, you need to contact support. But I'd be happy to answer any questions about these topics today. Anybody got any other questions? I had a couple of questions at the beginning that because of the restart I lost. So if anybody else has a question, if you want to go back, I'd be happy to answer that as well. Any questions? We kind of lost it right in the middle of the QR code, so I could do a recap on that if anybody missed part of that. Controls tab. Let me switch over to my QR code. In the Controls tab, check Allow Touchless Start. And if you have a camera like the M50 that does continuous autofocus, It works wonderfully with the with the M50. Also works great with a webcam. You know, older cameras like the T5 and older, those don't have continuous autofocus, and so the QR code needs to be close to the camera, and then you need to have the subjects back up, and so that's where the continuous autofocus comes in. So basically, you just choose that. Let me see if I can switch back over to my M50. Okay, back to the M50. Okay, so if I start the session, I've got my little QR code printed out. I don't have a printer attached, is why I'm getting that message. So here we go. If I hold that up, you'll see it just reads it and it starts the session really quick. It's pretty quick. You know, obviously, if you just wave it through, the camera doesn't have time to read it. But as soon as you see it come into focus, it starts the session. So that's how that works. Now, in this case, I have my email address in this QR code, and it sends it directly out to the email address. The customer doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to touch anything. It just detects the QR code, reads their email address from the QR code, and sends it out immediately. Okay. Any other questions about that? Marcus, sorry you joined us late. This will be on YouTube later, recorded, so you can watch it there if you missed anything. Let's see. So using QR code, it can be used for sharing. The QR code, the person puts in their email address or their, basically you have, let me get over here to this. So in the QR code setup, if I go here to controls and I choose this print sign, it takes you, that you would do this yourself, to this screen right here. And you would give your customers this QR code right here. It generates a custom QR code to take them to this website, boothstart.com. So when they go to boothstart.com on their phone or something, then it looks like, get back to it. That's not it. Boothstart.com. There you go. It would look like this, but only with the options that you plan to offer. So what you would do is you'd have a printed QR code for the customer to point their phone at. It takes them to this site. They fill in their email address, their phone, whatever options you're offering, and then they click done, and it creates a QR code custom to them with their email address or phone number embedded in it, and they have that on their phone. So every customer would have their own custom one with their information in it. Then they hold this up to the camera, and this would start the session, and it would send the image to either the phone or email or whatever they put in that QR code. All right. You can add multiples as long as they do them at the same time. What they would do is each person would hold up their QR codes both at the same time, but they have to have the same type. In other words, you couldn't do one with an email and one with a phone number. It has to be both email or both phone number. Any other questions about QR code or any other questions about any of the other topics? We got about 10 minutes left. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Can a service other than Twilio? You can use email. In this particular case, you cannot use phone through email because there's no option to give them. They still have to touch the screen to give it their carrier. So yes, you can use email. That was a question from Marcus. Anybody else got a question? Let's see, quick review of first topic. The first topic was alternate print. What version has the QR code option? QR code was added about a year ago. So if you have You can look on the website to see exactly when that was added, but QR code to start, I say a year ago, it was probably, yeah, around just before summertime last year. So the best thing to do is always stay current on the latest version because that's going to have the latest updates and everything. But yes. Let's see, alternate print. So with alternate print this is a quick recap. In the output section, you'll see print alternate right here. I keep saying alternate print, but it's print alternate. And you just check that box, select it, and you can choose and add up to 50, although that's a crazy number. I'd never offer that many, but you can add up to 50 templates here, and you just click, add template. It'll give you an opportunity to select it, and you add it to the list, and you just keep adding those templates. Once you do that and you add your various templates, you can also choose prompt to start at this to show them at the start of the session, or prompt to show at the end of the session. The biggest distinction between those two, before and after, is if they choose prompt before the session, they see it with the stock photos, or you can replace those stock photos with your own, but it would be a generic photo just to show them an example. If they choose at the end, then they see it with their actual photos that were taken with the session. So that's the big distinction right there. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, this first checkbox, print for every session, if you choose that and you have two templates selected, the primary and the alternate, it will print them both. So if you just have some odd reason you need to print two different templates from every session, then that's how you would do that. Add the second one to print alternate and choose print for every session. But normally in this scenario, you would not use that on every one. So let's take a look now, and I'll show you how that looks when you actually use it. So here, when you click on here to start the session, let me start the session. It's going to pop up a scroll box like this that scrolls back and forth and shows the various templates that you have listed, and then they can just click on one to choose it. If you have a printer that supports cutting, like within the software, like a DNP 620, then Darkroom can turn the appropriate cut on or off so that they could choose a 2x6 or a 4x6 template. We can control that. If you have multiple printers, like for example, if you wanted to offer a 2x6, a 4x6, and a 6x8, well, 2x6, 4x6, and 6x8 would require different media, so you'd need two printers to offer something like that, but then Darkroom can send the appropriate one to the correct printer. But then they can just choose the one they want, and it would start, and it would just scroll through like that. Again, using this method, you can offer up to 50. I would never do that. You'll have people standing there all day scrolling through to choose which ones they want to use, but that's how that works. Let me get out of that. I got another question here. Receive in QR, email, output photo, or individual shots. They would receive the output photo. And how many stickers can you add to a booth? Emoji stickers. That's not, Marcus, you're asking great questions, but they're topics that aren't covered in this particular webinar. Today we covered alternate print, QR code to start, take and retake options, and filters. So those are the topics in this particular one. Anybody else got any questions before we close it down? We got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Anybody else? What I would recommend everybody do is sit down with your software and create these. You can watch back through the video. We also have other tutorial videos on our website about these specific things that are maybe even a little more elaborate than what I did today. So go through and look those things over and, try them out, work through them, make sure they work for you and how you want to use them. And then you can go and offer that to your customers in an actual event. But I would strongly suggest you do that in advance and not, wait till you get to the event to set it up. With QR code option turned on, it can still be started normally. Yes, yeah. As long as you don't show a QR code to the screen, you can touch the screen, start it like you would normally do. If you're doing email or phone number, if you start it with the QR code, then it will not pop up the prompt for the email or the phone number. If you started by touching it without the QR code, it will pop up the prompt to fill in manually. So yes, if QR code's enabled and no one shows a QR code, it would work normally, just like without a QR code. Anybody else? What time? I don't know. I passed the video over to the marketing department and they'll post it up, but usually in a day or so. Anybody else got a question? All right, going once, going twice. Okay, folks, I guess that's all we have. If anybody else has any questions or issues or anything, you can always contact our support staff at support@darkroomsoftware.com, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Time. Okay, everybody have a great day. Glad to see everybody starting to get back to work, and everybody stay safe.